Hello guys, hello, hi. If you guys are not new here, welcome back. If you guys are new here, hello, my name is Kay. Just a briefing about this channel. Hope to Change is a channel that the Lord has blessed me with, just to help people change through my dreams, through my messages, through the testimony, through visions, whatever the Lord uses. He's really giving me messages to really provoke people to wake up, to change, to turn from their wicked ways, to get their hearts in order, their homes in order, you know what I'm saying, in alignment with what God had sent them here to do in the first place, But I don't want to be before you guys too long because literally this message is so serious right now. As you guys can read from the title, I don't even know what the title is, but literally I just know I need to do this. The other day I was praying and I heard the Lord say that, the enemy is giving his people sexually transmitted diseases and stuff like that. And uncurable. That's what he said. He said uncurable sexually transmitted diseases. That's what the enemy is giving. And just the way that it came was just so urgent, you know what I'm saying? And so a couple of days went by and I still hadn't uploaded the video. And then I had got 3 dreams back to back that were just letting me know the urgency and that I need to just get on it. I need to do this because this is so serious. Somebody needs to hear it. Okay, I don't really know where I'm going to start, but I'm going to invite the Lord. Nevertheless, Lord, you are welcome. Use my tongue, use my mind, use my heart, use me in any kind of way, shape, and form right now to do what you want to do. Because even today, right now, the way everything is, my head is hurting. I really want to sleep, but he woke me up. I can't even rest. I got on YouTube. I'm trying to but watch a sermon. Can't even do that. Getting interrupted spiritually by some things that's coming up in my spirit. I'm feeling the spirit all over me. So yeah, I just ran outside. I was like, okay, the kids. At first I wanted to record in the house, but we're going to do it outside. So, sorry guys, you may hear cars as well coming by, but I want to talk to you guys about what this message is from the Lord. So I don't really know where to start, but I'm going to start somewhere. Okay, I'll tell you this, that I'll actually tell you guys a testimony of myself, because deep down I could relate to what's going on. Okay, and I'm gonna tell you how right now. Okay, years ago, okay, I was what I call, this person is the counterfeit. You know what I'm saying? Many years ago, I was in a relationship, and I was actually, my God had told me to leave my ex-husband. Now, people always think that God does not do divorce and anything like that, but I found out through my own testimony, through my own walk with the Lord, if something is not for you, if somebody is not for you, God will divorce it. You know what I'm saying? Things that God put together is something that he does not want to be destroyed. But if he didn't put it together and the enemy put it together, that's a whole nother story. Just because you marry somebody doesn't mean that the person is from God. You know what I'm saying? You can be led by the Lord to marry somebody. You can be led by the devil to marry somebody. You know what I'm saying? Things like that, right? I was with my ex-husband for 10 years. It was a very, very hard relationship. Abuse. It was so much more that I'm not even ready to even talk about right now. If the Lord ever leads me to it, I will do it. But literally, it was a very, very horrible, toxic relationship, to say the least. For 3 years after that relationship, I was suffering through anxiety and things like that. You know what I'm saying? And I mean, just recently, the other day, the Lord had led me to forgive some of the things that had happened, and I have not been with that man for almost 8 years now, and it's still so it's 18 years past, and it was that bad, the relationship. But there was a point in a relationship where God had let me know that he was going to separate me and him. Okay, and he said that after he separates me and him, and this is a dream he gave me, but the interpretation of the dream, and God had said, he said that after he separates me and my ex-husband, that the enemy is going to send me somebody. He's going to send me somebody, and it's going to be a strong temptation, is what the Lord said. Those are the words. Okay. and the enemy was going to send me a strong temptation. And I remember being so upset about it because I was like, I wish that my ex-husband could have just pulled it together, because part of the reason why I married him, even though he was not a good guy to me or anything like that, he wasn't good to our children, it was just horrible. I married him because I just didn't want to have sex out of wedlock. You know what I'm saying? So I knew that sexual sin was something that I was struggling with, and instead of getting my flesh in control and stop putting it, like, the sex so far up here, instead of just getting it in control, I just married somebody that was so bad for me, just so that way I could be able to have sex. You know what I'm saying? Literally, I knew that the strong temptation was gonna have to be something to do with sex outside of marriage, because it's like, bro, like, I knew it was going to be hard. You know what I'm saying? That's just the thing that came to my mind. It was going to be something sexual. It's going to be hard to refrain from having sex outside of marriage if once me and my ex-husband split, right? And that's exactly what happened. And I mean, and it happened so fast. I ended up just one day just getting tired of it. I got so tired of it. Just to let you know just a little bit about the toxicity that was going on. My ex-husband had came into the house one night, and he had knew that I was losing love for him, and so he used to do this thing where he would come in throughout the night, and for years he used to do it. Come in late at night, and it's like, where have you been? What you been up to? What are you doing? And that at this point I had lost it. Like, I had lost those feelings. I remember right before this point, God had given me a dream of, like, it was two men that was talking to me, who I believe that they were angels now. They were talking to me in the dream, and they were just telling me, look at him, he's not good, he's not for you, you need to leave him alone, you got to let him go. And it was like a person in the dream that was talking to me, and it was a female, and it was like we had all went on a trip. We had got an Airbnb. This is before I even knew anything about Airbnbs. I don't even think they were a thing. They were probably a thing, but people were not talking about them. But I had knew that I had, they weren't big at all. I had knew that we had went out in a place, and we had rented out a beautiful home, and we had all our friends and all that, and this woman was there, and she kept talking to me like how my ex-husband would talk to me. She kept treating me how my ex-husband would treat me. And then I was just there trying to enjoy myself, but she just kept hurting me and just kept treating me just exactly how my ex-husband would treat me. And the two men were talking to me. They seemed to be older. Like, one was my dad, I believe, and then the other one, I don't know who he was, but I believe that they were angels in the dream. And anyways, they were talking to me, and they were telling me to leave him alone, and this person was treating me bad, just like my ex-husband was. She was a representation of him, and I ended up snapping in the dream, and I ended up really hurting him to the point of non-living, you know, in the dream. And I knew that. And when I woke up from the dream, it was like my like a couple of days later, my dad, the way that my dad talked to me, he was so calm, and he just looked at me. It was kind of like out of the blue. I went over there to visit him a few days later, and he was like, if he's like, you remember what I told you I'll go back to prison for? And I was like, yeah. And he was like, what? And he was like, if anybody ever hurts you or anything like that, he's like, I'm gonna go back to prison. You know what I'm saying? That's what my dad told me. And I just remembered that, the dream, when he said that, and I understood that if I do not leave this man, that something very bad was gonna happen. And I felt either I was gonna be the one to do it, or my dad was gonna be the one to do it. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? But something very bad was gonna happen, right? And so I ended up just losing all feelings for him. Everything just died finally. After 10 years, I lost all the feelings that I had for this man, right? And anyways, long story short, he did a thing where he likes to come in throughout the night, and usually I give him a hard time about it, but it started to be a situation where I don't care anymore. So this night is a night that we finally broke it off, and he came in the house like he usually does, and I didn't argue with him. He kept coming in back and forth. It was just getting later and later every time he would leave, and I didn't care. I didn't say anything to him. I had just had our last child. I mean, she was less than a month old, and me and all the kids, we had just moved into this new apartment, so we were all just laying on the floor in the living room. And yeah, so he noticed he wasn't getting a thrill out of me, and so the next thing I know, he came in the house, blood everywhere. His arm was extremely cut open to the deeply cut open, muscles and everything like that. And, you know, he was bleeding all over the place. It looked like a crime scene all over the house. He was just bleeding. And he didn't want to even give me his phone to call the ambulance. That's how toxic the relationship was, because he knew something was in that phone. And he had broke my phone earlier. That's what he used to do all the time, you know. So he broke my phone earlier, so I didn't have a phone. And so we had no choice but to use his, you know what I'm saying? Anyways, long story short, he told everybody that I was the one that did it and all that, you know what I'm saying? And he tried to fight me when he had got out of the hospital, right? And it was crazy because that whole day I was sitting there scrubbing up all the blood around the house, all this blood all around my whole apartment, the way everything went, you know. And he, when he got out, he told everybody that I had been the one to do that thing to him. And the hospital had called me and told me that those were self-inflicted wounds, you know what I'm saying? And do I think that he should stay there? And I said, yeah. But he ended up knocking on my door anyways later on that day, because he had left the hospital without their permission, right? So anyways, long story short, we ended up getting into a huge fight after I found out what he was telling our neighbors that same day when he had came home, that I was the one doing this or whatever. It got really physical, and I ended up calling the police on him. And after that, there's that man came into my life that was the strong temptation. Okay, so I hope it wasn't too long for me to get to this point, but yes, the strong temptation came into my life at that point when my ex-husband had went to jail. Now, what happened was I initially intended to be single. I intended to be single, but this person was very handsome. This person was very tall. This person was actually my neighbor at the time. Like, that's how I met the person. And it was like, he protected me because my ex-husband at the time, he kicked down my door. And I mean, and it was something that he'd done often and things like that. But the guy had came to like rescue me in a way, right? And, you know, my ex-husband was clearly scared of him, you know what I'm saying? And so the guy had came to rescue me, and even though I had intended not to be in a relationship, a little short time after, he let me know, like, he would like to just be in a relationship with me and all that, you know? And I was like, not really trying to do that, but he was like, you know, just trust him or whatever. As time went on, not even much time, I remember just praying about him, and I was asking the Lord, and I remember the Lord had answered my prayer one day, and I'll tell you what he did. I was in the store with this guy, and even his child, you know what I'm saying? I was in the store with both of them. He didn't have a car at the time, so, you know, I was taking him to the store. And I remember him standing afar off from me looking at him and his son just standing together. They were getting some seafood or whatever. And at this point, I remember like getting this feeling of like dread that just came over me, like extreme dread, extreme like horror. Like that was the feeling that came over me, right? And I remember saying to the Lord, I was like, Lord, what is this? Like, what could they do to me? What could he possibly do to me? Like, I'm sitting here thinking, like, he would never want to hurt me, because I wouldn't want to hurt him, like, in that way. Like, the feeling was, like, deathly, you know what I'm saying? The feeling that I had got. And I was, like, wondering, like, why the Lord had given me that feeling. And I was like, it can't really be that bad, right? You know? Long story short, guys, I ended up discovering what the feeling was about very soon. I mean, he had a personality about him where he would like go from like zero, like things that don't even require for him to be upset or anything like that. He would go from zero to like physical real fast. You know what I'm saying? And so I was like, what the heck? And being in the relationship with this person, I remember the Lord telling me, he was like, you need to leave him. One day I remember dropping the man off at church. And so that's another thing, you know, you getting caught up in relationships thinking that, you know, these people are godly people. The person actually went to church more than I went to church, you know. But anyways, dropping this man off at church one day, and I just remember asking the Lord, I was like, Lord, is he the one for me? Like, are you going to make it happen? And this is after all that had happened, when I first got the initial feeling of dread and everything that I had. I literally later on had asked the Lord again. So I didn't listen to him when he first gave me the initial signs, right? I didn't listen to him when the guy right after that literally got abusive. I didn't listen to him, right? I didn't listen to God. But then I started to ask the Lord one day, and the Lord said, no, you need to leave him. Okay? To sum it up, I ended up leaving the guy. And when I left him, I ended up coming back to him one time more because I did not have my flesh in control when it came to sex. I did not have my flesh in control. And so when I wanted that feeling, I was like, oh, I'll just call him. It ended up happening that night that I had met up with the guy, he had something on his lips, but I had seen it before, but I had never, like, I would give it a break. I had heard that they're called cold sores or whatever. I didn't kiss him or anything like that when I had seen it, because we weren't like, I mean, he had something on his lip. I didn't really think anything of it, right? I had seen it like in the beginning of our relationship. I had seen it. And I was fine. Like, nothing happened to me. But this time he had another outbreak, this guy. And I didn't even really notice it that night, but I didn't really think anything of it, because it's like nothing has happened to me. I still got checkups and everything. I had nothing, you know what I'm saying? So I didn't think anything of it. But this night, after I had broke up with him, after me and him had not been talking for a while, I called him over, and I don't know if it was done on purpose or accident, you know, till this day. But all I know is he ended up going down on me, okay? And I hope this is not too much information for you guys, but that's what happened. And I ended up getting herpes from him. He ended up giving me herpes type 2, which, if you don't know anything about herpes type 1 is the one that's like on the face and stuff like that, and type 2 is the one that's on the body part down there, right? And I remember freaking out. I remember initially he was making like that's not the case, but I remember when I went to the hospital for it, they was like, no, if this is what's on him, this is how it got transferred, blah, blah, blah. So I remember after that, guys, feeling totally like destroyed. I felt like, first of all, if I just would have listened to the Lord, if I just would have got myself in control, if I just would have, got my flesh in control like he wanted me to, I wouldn't even be in this situation. I remember just feeling dirty, you know what I'm saying? Going from being this perfectly healthy person to now getting something that I can't even get rid of. I remember the irritation that I felt from it. It was just so irritating. I don't mean to gross anybody out, but I just want to let you know how serious it can get, guys. It was like if I ate anything sweet, if I ate certain things, whatever, I always had a breakout. So it was like I was constantly dealing with this thing. I was constantly dealing with it for a long period of time. Like it would show up. Like it would show up. It would ruin my life. It would ruin my mood. It would just open up all these sores and everything like that. And it was so uncomfortable. Constant itching, because it's sores on me. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was horrible. I couldn't sleep at night. I remember just crying to myself many a nights and everything like that. You know what I'm saying? And then all to just, now I felt like I have to be with this man, because it's like, I'm not going to get anybody else. Nobody else is going to want me dealing with this whole situation. Nobody else is going to want to be with me, right? That's how I felt at the time. I just remember me and him was supposed to get married and all this. And I remember him telling his child and my children, I'm not marrying her, and da-da-da-da. After everything, you know what I'm saying? In the end, he was like, I wasn't good enough for marriage for him. And, after I got this disease, I felt like nobody was going to want me. So I felt like I had no choice but to be with him, right? And now he doesn't even want to marry me. So it's like, now I'm going to have to continue in the sexual sin and all that, right? That's how I felt. So what ended up happening is I had done this thing where people say, oh, you can just because I'm gonna debunk what people say, right? People say that people who get these diseases, like herpes, for example, they say that it goes away. It doesn't go away. It can lie dormant, but it won't necessarily go away. Like going away, no. So what happened is, I had started taking some herbs or whatever, taking some things that would help me make it lie dormant or whatever, like they were saying. And so I hadn't had an outbreak in forever. And it was so much to the point where I thought that I didn't have it anymore, right? Then I finally, a little bit after, I finally got the balls to leave the guy because he was horrible. You know what I'm saying? He wasn't a good guy. So I ended up leaving him, right? The Lord kept urging me to do so, right? The guy actually even tried to kill me at one point. Like I finally left him, right? And so, and it was and the reason was so small. It was just about me not wanting to have sex with him. And so he tried to choke me to the point of like no breath in my body. Like that's how it was that time, right? Let's fast forward now to me leaving him alone. And now I'm thinking I don't have anything. And I remember God telling me that I had a husband and this and that. And he actually revealed to me who my husband was, right? And I remember I had ended up, a little bit after finding out that this was my husband, I had an outbreak that I hadn't had in forever. I did not have this outbreak. Like I said, I thought that I didn't have anything, right? And whenever my outbreaks happen, they happen for a very, very long time. Like they last for a long time, like weeks. It's just there. The irritation, the sickness, the headaches, all that, aches in my body, all that, it would be there for a minute, a cool minute. Like the first day that it happens, I feel so sick. But like the initial, like the symptoms that happens on the genitals and all that, it would be there for a long period of time, right? So, long story short, I ended up having an outbreak after the Lord told me that I had a husband, right? And then right after I had that outbreak, I was like, I talked to the Lord and I was like, Father, like literally, I don't want to hurt anybody. I don't want to hurt anybody. I don't want to hurt my new husband with this. I was like, I really need you to clear this from me. I didn't even know that I still had it. Like, I need you to set me free from this thing, right? And it was like, I understood that the herpes itself was more than just it like, I felt like it was a spirit, you know what I'm saying? I understood from this Holy Spirit that herpes and sexually transmitted diseases, period, are a kind of spirit, okay? And, you know, I've even heard people say they are sexually transmitted diseases. And it's the same thing with cancer and things like that. Those are spirits, right? So, long story short, I remember the Lord putting into my spirit that day that he was going to set me free from it. And I remember just a peace, like a feeling of joy. Like it was almost like I could see him smiling in the spirit, like, I'm going to free you of this. I'm going to do this for you, right? And I just remember the relief that I had. And after that, it had went away. Like usually it takes forever for it to go. It was like as soon as it popped up, it started to heal and go away. And I hadn't seen it since. I had got tested. I don't have anything like that, right? But I'm saying that story, right? And I've heard other testimonies of people who did not have that same experience, who have contracted a sexually transmitted disease and they died with it. They died of HIV. They died with herpes. They died with those things, syphilis. They died with those things. You know what I'm saying? And it's very scary when you think about it like that. You know what I'm saying? That these things could be prevented if we would just be obedient to the word, because the enemy is thriving off of our disobedience. Okay, the enemy is betting on our disobedience. The enemy is wanting for us to be disobedient so that way he can win. You know what I'm saying? You know, the feeling that I felt that time when it was like, just imagine going from being perfectly healthy to now you have to live off medications in order to be normal. Or maybe you don't have to maybe you don't have to live off medications. Maybe you'll be the type of person who every relationship you get in, you let them know, I have this disease, I have it. Like, imagine going from just living a healthy life to now it's like you gotta tell people this. I'll tell you this right now. I know people that I work with okay? For example, that have, because they have diseases, they have went off and they told somebody, you know, hey, I really like you, da 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 da, and I see you're really interested in me, but I have something to tell you. And now they're the talk of the job. Now people are talking about your disease. You know what I'm saying? When all you had to do was like get your flesh in control. And I'm not talking about, of course, people who are born with these kind of things, but people who contracted these kind of things. You know what I'm saying? And if it was just, you just got yourself in control, you got your flesh in control, and you let the Lord lead you, you know what I'm saying? You wouldn't even be in a situation like that, you know? You wouldn't even be in that situation. I don't know what it is that made the Lord do that for me, and I totally just rely on his mercy and his grace, you know what I'm saying? And maybe somebody needs to hear that it is possible. But I have heard even believers who have it, and for whatever reason, they died with it. I don't know if it was too late when they found out. I don't know the situation. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? I have no idea, zero understanding for why I was freed from it and others are not. I have not been. You know what I'm saying? But this video I'm making to hopefully help somebody avoid even being in that situation in the first place. These are the end times, and the enemy is using whatever he can to take you out. I know people personally who I had even spoken to, who the Lord had let me know, you have a husband. You have somebody for you. And this person went off and did something with the wrong person, even after I had a conversation with them. You know what I'm saying? So we need to understand that God has plans for you, and we need to be obedient so that way they can come to pass, because the enemy is relying on your disobedience. The enemy is betting on you not being able to control your flesh. Sex is one of the easiest ways that the enemy is using to attack the believers, you know, making it seem so small. What are they calling it now? They're calling it a appointment. You know, I hear people say, I need one of my appointments. I'm waiting for my D appointment, things like that. And I'm not trying to be funny. You know what I'm saying? They're saying things like that. They're making sex so casual. They're making it like it's not a big deal anymore. And me, myself, I struggle, so I know what it is. But God is saying right now in this time that we better stop, because something is knocking at the door. The enemy has an evil plan to take us out. You know what I'm saying? In that way. That's his plan against the saints. He's betting that when you get tempted from one of your coworkers that you can't resist. You can't resist that temptation. And you're not knowing that when these people, this is what God showed me. He showed me in the dream, he showed me that this is even somebody at the workplace. Okay? Somebody has AIDS is what God showed me at the workplace. And this person is handing them out because people are sleeping with this person. And people don't know that this person has it. These people look normal. And you know the thing about it, the person that has it may not even know that they have it. So they don't have anything to tell you either. You know what I'm saying? They don't have anything to tell you. But nevertheless, if you lie down with that person, you could sit here for months and months and months and be talking to this person and think, okay, I trust this person. And the whole time, yeah, maybe the person is trustable. If the person knew that they had a disease, they probably would tell you, but they don't. And that's the thing. Because we're literally not being obedient to the Lord, you have now put yourself in a deathly situation. You know what I'm saying? So whoever this is for, be careful. Be careful. I even saw, it was 3 dreams that I got, you know what I'm saying? And the major one was the workplace. The one before that was just walking on the road. You could be just meeting somebody and you're trusting them and you're thinking that this person is okay. But the whole time, this person is a vessel for the enemy. And the person may not even be aware of it at all. The person is being used as a host to spread this disease, to destroy people, to destroy their destiny. Imagine somebody living with HIV and they're not knowing it until the very last stage. Now, whatever you had to do in your life, you had a purpose or whatever, it may not get done because now it's the very end. That this sickness has already taken up and consumed you. It's taken over, it's consumed you. And now it's too late. You know what I'm saying? So the Lord is trying to wake us up in this time with this message that I'm giving you guys. And I hope that it reaches all the people that it needs to reach, because not everybody I've met has my same story. You know what I'm saying? They don't have the same experience that I got. You know what I'm saying? There's people who are dying from HIV. They're dying and they're living, and not even just dying, they're living with a sickness, going from that healthiness to a sickness. And it's like when you go for that, you begin to settle. You begin to settle. Because it's like you can be made a mockery telling the wrong person. I've seen it. You can be in my situation where you just feel like nobody else will want you, and you begin to settle for something that's abusive and something that's hurting you, that's not even good for you. You know what I'm saying? You don't even end up reaching your actual husband or your actual wife because you settled when you got this news, when it all could have been avoided if you just would have been obedient. Okay? And so I really don't think I have any more to say. I hope that the point that needed to be made is being made. But we need to wake up in this time. The enemy is sending people to destroy us, literally. And it's time to wake up, guys. It's time to get serious about the Lord. And this is not to put fear in anybody. It's just to warn you. This is what the Lord said for you. This is an urgency. Whoever this is for, get your life in order. Get your flesh in order. And you can do it. You can do it. I've done it. I finally got my flesh in order. In years I went without having any kind of intercourse. So it's like, it's possible, guys. It is possible. You can do it. The deeper you get involved with the Lord, you'll start to realize the things that your flesh be calling for really don't even matter. It really doesn't matter. Okay, our strength is the source. I hear people say all the time they can't do that. They just can't do such thing. They can't give up anything like that. When in reality, you can't. But if you would get deep into the Lord, if you would focus on the Lord, it's possible for you. It's very possible for you. Okay? Because it's not by your strength, it's by His strength. Anyways, I don't want this video to be long or too long. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I want you guys to have a great rest of your night, day, evening, whatever time it is, guys. Have a blessed one. Bye.